In a surprising move, Bill Maher is coming out in a big way against Zohran Mamdani because he sees it casting a shadow over the Democrat Party, which of course is 100% correct. However, many people on the left don't really have that same concern, and that's what's being discussed today over on Real Time with Bill Maher. But before we get to these clips, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on this video so we can break through the algorithms. Here we go.
We need a sister soldier moment, a time when some issue with the Democrat says, look, I'm not with the far left, and this is how you know you can trust me that I'm not. I think I have the issue.
Okay.
And it's the mayor's race in New York. I think he seems like a sweet guy, Mamdani. But I would just like to say, because the election is in a couple of weeks, the point is, they're going to have to decide on this mayor's race. Now, they say it's getting closer. If it is Mamdani in New York, again, I think this has very important national implications. This is not just New York that's on the ballot. I think the whole Democratic Party in the country is on the ballot, and the whole country will be looking at this race to see which way are the Democrats going to go. No, Andrew Cuomo may not be that exciting and that inspirational, but, you know, for a party that said we want to get back to normal, he's kind of normal.
I disagree with you a little bit. I both agree and disagree. I'll tell you why. I disagree that the mayor of New York sets the national tone in the way that New Yorkers maybe think that he does. I don't think that people living in purple districts in the middle of the country actually really care all that much who the mayor of New York is. I don't think they do. I think Mamdani has a lot of energy. He's excited a lot of young people. He's brought a cohort of voters who have been unsatisfied with the Democratic Party into the tent. And you have to win in order to win. And I think that Democrats are constantly looking to try to take a loss out of a win. They're trying to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. What I will say, though, is I think that to your point about Sister Soldier, I actually do think that those people, should Mamdani win, those people should criticize him. That's fine. I actually think that's a good thing. Separate yourself from somebody who's running in New York City, one of the most liberal districts, places in this country.
Well, you make it sound like he's a little more mainstream than I think he is. I mean, the issue now that Andrew Cuomo is bringing up in New York is that he is a Ugandan citizen. Uganda is a country where they kill homosexuals. So
somebody who is a dual citizen can't be mayor of New York, or?
I would renounce, if I was the dual citizen with a country whose policy, government policy, was we kill homosexuals, yeah, I would renounce that citizenship. You shouldn't be afraid of that.
I think the way that Cuomo is closing out this race and really race baiting and really leaning in on
that's not right. It's not right. No, you know what? Just because
I don't think that's good for the country.
I understand, but just because something is done by people in Africa doesn't mean it's always okay. Well, he campaigned this week with a guy who was an unindicted co-conspirator in the 1993 World Trade Center bombing and served as a character witness for Omar Abdel-Rahman, the terrorist who organized it. So Sarah Palin used to say Obama palled around with terrorists, which was bullshit. But I just don't know if this is a great look for the party. I really don't.
My take is, I think what's being left out in this conversation is probably the most important ingredient, and that is the people of New York. They will decide whether or not everything you just leveled up and every concern that people have put out there about Mr. Mamdani is relevant to them when they go to the polls. When they've started early voting, and when they go to the polls, New Yorkers will decide. Then we are not in a position to sit back and second guess and vote shame a community because we outside that community don't like their choice, right? So what we have to do, this is the tripwire, Bill, for this country right now, because everybody's got an opinion about shit that don't matter to them. Here's the last piece. Having been the lieutenant governor of a state and worked with every municipality in my state, with the mayors and the city councils, he's going to have to govern. So all of the stuff he's out here talking about he's going to do in free markets, and I'm going to give you this, I'm going to give you that, wait till the city council has something to say about it. Wait till the governor of New York has something to say about it. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, when she says, well, we're not sending money to the city of New York to do that, Mr. Mamdani will have a different conversation than the one he's having right now.
So the last point Michael Steele makes right there is actually a pretty good one, right? Mamdani's out there right now promising the moon, right? Free food, free buses, lowered housing costs, but he can't really deliver on any of that. And the city council is most likely going to put him in check real quick. However, of course, what's the bigger overall issue? It's the simple fact that, yes, Mamdani will be used by the Republicans, and rightly so, to judge the Democrats across the entire nation. And even though you have Michael Steele out here saying, you know what, this is just a bellwether for the people of New York. No. How often do we use California, Portland, Chicago as cudgels against the Democrats, as examples of the worst possible ideas in the entire nation, right? What you should never do with your police force and law enforcement and how you treat criminals, right? Stay away from those places. And now we're going to have New York City, where Mamdani is most likely going to be elected, right? And all the socialist ideas are going to be put on full display, and they are going to fail spectacularly. Now, how in the world could I possibly know that? Because we have a history of socialism and Marxism in this world, and it never ends well. And even though we have Kate Bedingfield over there saying, oh, all Democrats have to do is basically separate themselves from the far left, that's something they've had real issues with. The Democrats are being dragged further and further left. And the reason why the left has taken over the Democrat Party essentially is because they are expelling all the people who don't agree with them 100%, who aren't in lockstep when it comes to, transgender issues, when it comes to LGBTQ plus pride issues, right? All of that stuff has to be agreed upon. And speaking of those issues, Bill Maher raises the excellent point, right? Right now, Zohran Mamdani has dual citizenship with Uganda, a place that executes homosexuals. So yeah, do you think the Democrats are going to be up in arms about this? Do you think all the leftist advocates, all those LGBTQ plus folks are going to be out there saying, oh, I can't believe you're not renouncing your citizenship, all right? Because they don't really care about any of that stuff, at least on their side. They use it to attack Republicans, but when their own side is guilty of it here in the extreme, then they're just going to go ahead and turn a blind eye to it. And when we talk about Mamdani, what we have to remember is this guy really is an incredible radical. Let's go ahead and look at some things that have been actually unearthed about his father over the last week. Over here, our first article, Zohran Mamdani's dad allegedly tried to silence LGBTQ professor in Uganda by padlocking her office and withholding her pay. But of course, are all of the LGBTQ plus activists going to be really upset about this? Of course not, because Mamdani represents the far left. All right. And then, of course, you also have Zohran Mamdani's dad saying, you know what? The Nazis learned how to do all of their atrocities from the U.S. itself. All right. That, of course, is another far left idea. But since there's no America-loving patriots left on the Democrat Party, they're not going to raise one issue about this either, because the far left believes all of this garbage. But these are just a few of the issues that are being raised about Mamdani himself. Okay, we already know that he's, yes, out there gallivanting around with unindicted co-conspirators in terrorism activities. Not to mention, he's refusing to condemn Hamas after, of course, they're out there shooting Palestinians in the streets. And of course, he's also out there saying he's not going to condemn the phrase globalize the intifada. Okay, but that, of course, is what we're dealing with. The left don't care how radical he actually is. The left doesn't care how much he contradicts what the actual core beliefs supposedly are of the Democrat Party. All they care about is that he's pushing the party more and more to radicalism. He's pushing the party more and more to socialism. And yes, that's why the Democrats have been completely taken over by this radical movement. And if you don't believe me, just look around at where all the energy is. Is it with Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, or is it with Mamdani, AOC, and Bernie Sanders? And there's the answer to your question. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and say hi to your mom for me.